What's up, YouTube? First, the weekly recap. Let's get to it. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to start these weekly recaps where I'm going to capture all my trades live throughout the week. And then I'm going to go ahead and once a week on Saturdays, go ahead and recap them and kind of talk you through my thoughts throughout the trades, etc. This week, we only had 3 trades, so it's not going to take that long. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. I always appreciate that support. As always, if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. You can also find me on Twitter or Discord. Those links are down in the description as well. And I appreciate all of that. So LI, it's going to be our first trade. I'm just going to hit play. I kind of pre-recorded all the trades in order here, and we're going to kind of walk through these. So this first one is on LI. This one was on Monday, and you're going to see me. I hit the DC button, and I also was looking around VWAP for that. As you can see, I hit 26.22, and that was where we ended up getting our entry. It looks like we were looking at some other stocks at the same time. You can see LI decides to keep going up. You guys know I love those key areas around those 20 cents through whole dollars and half dollars. So that's what probably prompted me to start this one. It does seem like it's actually moving a little bit slower than I would like because I'm pretty sure I have this sped up as well. There we go. You can see a nice little pop up through the half dollar. And I've been trying to do a 1-2 on ones where I do get ads, but you're going to see that I did a 1-1 here. And the reason for that being is because if I'm going to get a 1-2, I want it to pop through to those key levels. So I would have looked for 70 cents through the half dollar, so 20 cents through the half dollar to get to 70 cents, and we didn't get that. So because we didn't get that, I decided that I can split that ad into 2. So if this wants to continue up higher, I'll be okay with adding another 50 shares to essentially give me a 1-2, but at a better price. So but as you can tell, we only got the 1-1 there. So now we're just kind of waiting and seeing what this thing wants to do. Put the take profit orders out just in case we do get a random flush. And as you can see, this starts to move higher. So now we're getting up towards that 70 cents area that we would have been looking for had it got there on that first move all at once. We could have added all of our shares at once, but that isn't what happened. And now we're getting a move up a little bit higher. We're waiting for an obvious area where this might be jiggling. You can see I have 50 shares loaded just in case I'm ready to go ahead and add those. And as you can see, I'm getting ready. I noticed that this is starting to struggle in this area. And I'm going to basically essentially wait to see if this wants to go higher or not. It does not seem like it even wants to get back up towards the high there of 80. So we go ahead and add the other 50 shares. So it's going to essentially give us our 1-2, essentially 1 entry, and then 2 times that initial entry is what I'm looking for. Would put it all in one order if we get that nice move up through the half dollar originally, but we didn't. That is the plan, but sometimes, you know, we're going to get a pop through 50. You don't want to miss the ad, and we're just not going to always get the ad where we want it sometimes. But how you can still get the ad without adding too much additional risk and adding too fast and getting your position size a little bit too high too fast is you can take half of your planned ad. And even if you do plan on doing a 1-1 and you always wait for those key areas, you can split that 1 in half. So it would be like a 1 and then a half and then a half. I mean, you can really do it however you want. But I like to do it the way that I do it. It seems to work well. Obviously, I would have been looking up through 27, around 27.20 if I wanted to get another ad, which is where I probably would have added 150 shares there. So it would be a 1, a 2, and then a 3. Is essentially what I'd be looking for there, which had it went to 27.20, you're looking for, as you can see, it does attempt to, but it never actually gets up there. So we never actually get an ad. Now, could I have split this one in half as well? Yeah, sure, I could have. But at that point in time, I realized it wasn't exactly necessarily the trade that I had wanted. It was starting to move slow. We weren't getting any kind of a real pullback. And of course, we don't get that ad, and it starts to give us that pullback. And on the way down, my thought process here is that our average is right at an area where this would like to bounce. So sure, I have my orders out just in case it does want to flush down there, but you're going to see as this starts to bounce off of the obvious area that it's probably going to attempt to bounce after a pretty decent move back down, which is the half dollar. We decide that we're going to take some off. And I don't remember if I take half off. I believe I do. I think it's just 75 shares. And I basically am waiting for it to test 50 just to try to get them off as close to break even as possible. But at the same time, I'm also allowing the chance for it to go through 50. But you can see if you're just watching the level 1 up here, that it's not even attempting 50. It just keeps bouncing at like 51, 52. So essentially just waiting for this to come back down. And if it does come back down, I'm going to go ahead and take 75 shares off, which is half my size. And then we're going to see what it wants to do from there. If it wants to bounce, we could look to add back. If it wants to go to high of day, we're going to cut it. But pretty much what we're looking to do is minimize risk here, because we know we're at a key level with our average. So by getting rid of some, as you can see, it's coming down to 51. We're still holding it there, waiting, and then it goes under just for a bit, and then it comes right back up. So we decide to take it. So we were looking for that to like actually flush, right? It tried it a bunch of times. So we figured if it's going to go through, we're going to get a decent little flush, but it got bought right up. So that was an indication to me that we should probably go ahead and take some off. And as you can see, it did try to go higher. Ultimately, it does try to come back down here. We look to possibly take some more off. It's just hanging out in the high 40s, goes back up to 60. And at this point, I'm basically telling myself, we're just going to cut this at high of day. If it gets there, obviously it's not the trade that I'm looking for. And as it bounces back up here, we actually are going to do something that we don't normally do, which is add to our position. So the thought process behind this is I told myself I'm cutting at high of day. So I'm essentially looking for, I've been using the word essentially a lot in this video, so sorry about that. But I'm looking for a bounce. I'm looking for a jiggle, and then I'm looking for it to come back down. And if it doesn't, I'm still cutting at high of day. I'm just adding a little bit more risk. But in this case, I get my average up a little bit away from that $0.50. I realize that it doesn't necessarily want to go back up higher. It tried, but is failing. And so this is me saying, okay, let's add those shares that we took off, get our average up a little bit. If it works out right away, we can just take those shares off for a small profit, which you're going to see me do here. As you can see, we get a nice little flush down back towards through 50, and we take those right off. So that actually ended up being really good. Then we can put our same orders out that we had before. As you can see, VWAP is starting to catch up to it now. Our original entry was at 26.26, and now VWAP is there. And catching myself saying essentially, we're just going to let this thing play out. So at this point, I don't believe I'm going to let this in my head. I'm not letting this go back up against this. But at the same time, I really want to see if this can work out, because we have all the way down here to 25.60 to allow it to work. But as you can see, we end up taking the rest of it off. And it's a little unfortunate because this did have a lot of room. I don't remember what this did in the afternoon. I do think it actually ended up trying the highs. Don't quote me on that, but I'm not quite sure. So that brings us to Tuesday, which was our second trade of the week. And we only had that one trade on Monday, and this is PDD. This actually ends up being a pretty good trade. I really liked the move here. As you can see, it's a pretty similar looking move as we had on LI. We're getting a nice extension right at the bell away from VWAP, and we're up through a whole dollar here. And as you can see, it starts to struggle, right? We're starting with the same 50 shares on something like PDD. But as you can see, it started to really struggle in the 20s there. And then all of a sudden, it actually jumped up into the 30s. A lot of times when you see that big jump, that's where a lot of people are looking for that and they sell into it. So I try my best to get in on those little jumps, looking for those quick moves right back down. As you can see, it actually decided to go a little bit higher after we got in, which is, obviously not a big deal. It's kind of what we're looking for to get an ad. But as far away from that whole dollar as I can get, knowing that it hasn't retested that area yet is what I'm looking for. So the higher it can go before retesting those key areas is what I'm looking for. So as you can see, we're going through the $0.50 now. And now instead of being in the 20s, we're in the 30s with our average, which is good. I'm not looking to split my ad here. I'm basically just waiting since we were pretty close to 50, I'm just seeing if we can get up above through 70 here. And that's where I would be looking to get my ad. And I'm pretty positive we actually get a little bit better than that. Yep, there we go, up into the 80s. And I believe this is where we get our ad. I honestly don't remember. I mean, I'm obviously watching it. I can see it struggling. So yeah, we kind of missed it there. Actually, I do remember this now because it comes right back down to our average. And I'm a little upset that we didn't get the ad because I was sitting there just watching. And as you can see, even just watching this back, I was saying, oh, that should be an ad. I believe that one that we just saw, we didn't have shares on because I remember that chart looked amazing. And we don't even bring it back up. So I'm pretty positive we didn't have shares on it. SIGA, I believe we didn't have shares either. And if we did, it wasn't many. And as you can see, PDD. So I want to pause this real quick because you'll never really see me add too much after we get a pullback. But I actually just posted a short saying that if you don't see any red candles, to me, this hasn't had a pullback yet, right? We're still on the front side until you see multiple red candles and an attempt at a pullback, whether it's a small pullback or a big pullback, it has to involve red candles. So at this point, even if I did get an ad here, sure, I would have definitely taken some profit on that drop and I still would have been in half of my position, which would have been my starter. And I probably would have made the same ad had we done that. The only difference here is I'm still completely unrealized, where I'd have some green realized and making the same ad with a better average at this point. So it's a little frustrating because, yeah, I did miss the obvious ad there, and we could have had some realized green, and then this could have been an even better trade. But it still hasn't had an actual pullback. And in my experience, the longer you go without the pullback, as long as it's moving up fairly fast, the odds are in your favor that you're going to eventually get that pullback. Now, trying to hang on for that sometimes is the problem. But as you can see, I get the ad where I should have got the ad the first time, brings our average up, of course, right to that $0.50 area again, which is why I've been teetering a lot with the idea of doing a 1-2. And the reason I didn't do 1-2, just to pause for a sec, is because this was the second move up. Now, if we had got a really good move and it was nice, fast, and fluent up towards like that 65, like 64.80, I totally would have been hitting it for a 1-2. But also being PDD, I was a little hesitant. I know this thing can grind. Was just being a little bit more safe with it. So as you can see, this does come right back down to 52, goes right through 50. And I'm basically just looking to get filled here down towards 35. I am looking to take it off, at least half of it, if it doesn't want to give it to us, but I'm pretty sure it does come down and give it to us. And we're essentially just going to scale out of this one. There really isn't anything special about this one, except if you think about LI started the fight, right? And then it went back higher and took out our leftovers. Now, PDD is essentially the same type of trade, except PDD works out and the leftovers work. So you're going to see me start to scale out of this, even though I don't really have that many shares. And I'll just fast forward a little bit. And as you can see, just, slowly scale out of this thing. And it ends up being a pretty decent trade. I believe this one, I think we had it at 77 and it went down to, I think 83, which is why I put it there. It might've been 82. I don't remember exactly. I always end up moving orders around for the most part, but right after we get that fill there, looks like we drag it up and take some off, and then I end up putting a stop, or it looks like it comes down and maybe fills us. Yep. Okay, I see what happened there. I saw the bid go through, didn't fill us, so we ended up dragging the order up, getting pretty close to where we were looking for. But now we're down to 10 shares of the 100 that we had. You can see I fast forward. I'm basically just trailing those out, and they actually end up coming all the way back down and giving us a pretty nice fill, because I know we end up making a decent amount on those remaining shares. But it just goes to show you that sometimes the leftovers can work, sometimes they don't. But when they do, it's nice, and when they don't, so be it. You should never let leftovers turn into a loser, at least, and that's how I feel. If you have a decent average, you should not be letting those go back to high of day. You should just be kind of, if your average is near high of day, sure, you can cut those at high of day. But if your average is pretty far down, it's not that great. There's no way I'm going to let leftovers go all the way through my average and back to high of day and take a bigger loss on those, and giving back a decent amount. To me, that doesn't make any sense. But even with 10 shares, you can see we took another half off there. I'm basically looking just like LI. There was a big possible move all the way back down there. And on this one, it was to 62.50 area. And I believe we get the move all the way down to 63. And I end up just taking the rest off. And it actually ended up being a pretty good trade. All right, we're at 63 now. I don't know if this is where I take them off. Yep. And ended up being a really good trade there on PDD. Then we had one more trade on Wednesday. So literally had one trade Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then nothing on Thursday and Friday. So this NNOX, you're going to see it kind of pop up. We put the order, click the DC button, just see how many shares we would need. Essentially just waiting for this thing to possibly pop up to those pre-market highs. You're going to see it starts to jiggle there. So we end up hitting the short the ask. It actually comes up, fills us, and we put an order out just for the 12 retest, and we get it. I believe excuse me. I believe I checked that it was like a 8-second trade. It was, sometimes that's all it is. Like I said, a lot of times when you get 20 cents through a key area, that tends to be where a lot of people look to sell. And if it's after an already fast move to the upside, the odds are you're going to get a retest of that key area. Whether buyers step in or sellers step in at that point, I don't know. This one actually, I think, ended up coming all the way back down to the 1150 area. But what I do know is that the high probability play is that people are going to start selling around that 1220 area and look to either buy shares back on the dip at 12, or sellers are basically just going to jump in and buyers aren't going to step in, and it's going to go back down through 12 and make its way back down towards the next key area. And I mean, really, that's my strategy in a nutshell in these three trades. Sometimes they require scaling in, sometimes they work right away. Sometimes you get more out of it than you expect. Sometimes you don't get out of it what you did expect. And that's kind of the beauty of the strat is you put yourself in the best situation. And when those opportunities present themselves, you jump in and you go from there. So that's all I got. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully, if you do like this, let me know down in the comments. Just doing like a 1 week showing you the live trades. That way I'm not doing the daily recaps, kind of getting caught up in the grind of things. I don't get burnt out this quick. And let me know what you think. Appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My throat might not be able to handle these longer videos, but we'll see. I'm actually kind of interested in how this will play out when I have, 10 plus trades throughout the week, or even 10 plus trades in a day, but we'll see. We'll see. I'd rather do it this way. I'd rather sit down and just kind of get it all done at once. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.